Hello, I am back. For those of you that are new, hi, I am Katy. Welcome to my channel. And for those of you that are returning, I am so sorry. I know it's been a very long time. I've been working on some other little projects you might have seen. And also I just took a little time away. I felt the pressures of the world coming in and I just needed to step away for a second. I went on an incredible camping trip with some friends. We all got COVID tested. Went up to the Tahoe area and just communed with nature. And then just after that, one of my best friends and I decided to challenge ourselves. We went on this insane backpacking trip. I kind of am surprised that we survived. I'll insert some fun little videos to see how much we hated our guide.
Well, I think we both should know that if the lake does not have a name, chances are it's not going to be easy to get to it.
I think we
Are
both
you taping me right
should
now?
know that we should never trust Travis.
What did you like about the hike yesterday on the way
It
up?
was pretty.
Yeah, it was real pretty. But then it got hard.
And so it begins.
Well, the thing is, it didn't stop. It didn't let up. It just went up and up and up.
And the altitude. Never trust Travis.
So we were just talking about what you liked.
But ultimately, it was an incredible experience. Just seeing how all you really need is just what you can carry on your back, especially in times like this where things get a little overwhelming. It's just nice to recenter yourself. So it was a beautiful trip, but now I'm back and I'm so excited because we're continuing our conversation about honoring our community. And what better way to do so than to speak with other people within our networks. And one of those people that I'm going to speak with today is the incredible Dominique Kelley. Now, Dom and I only came across each other's paths recently. A couple years ago, we heard of one another while he was working in Austin and I happened to be in Austin, and ultimately we just came together. By the way, I've just realized that ultimately is a word that I say all the time and I'm going to need to change that. But anyway, back to what we were talking about. Dom and my path just recently came together on another little passion project. Excited to see where that turns out, but he is just such an incredible mind. I'm so inspired by him, and I'm sure that you'll be inspired by him too. Here are a few of his credits. I'm gonna have to just read off a list because it's too long for me to remember. He has worked for Flirty Dancing as a supervising choreographer, Masked Singer as a supervising choreographer. He's worked with Mariah Carey, Janet Jackson, Pink, Gwen Stefani, Camila Cabello, Taylor Swift, FKA Twigs, DCPA's Oklahoma, which is what he did in Austin, and that's where I'd heard about him. And he is also a fellow Cirquester. I am a past Cirquester, 7.5 years, and he worked on Volta. Our paths never crossed there, but now they have come together. I almost said ultimately again. Did you catch that? But now they've come together, and I think it's a great representation of what community means. We get into a lot of different topics within this interview. We did a little Zoom. And so I hope you guys really enjoy this and this can spark some thought for you. If you want to engage in the conversation as well, please go ahead and put some comments below, and we look forward to continuing this human movement. Your hat's fab.
I had to do a little something for the day. I was like, let me make it seem like I tried this morning. Just green shorts.
Honey, wait, hold on. Pajamas still. I'll just kind of jump right into it. So with HUMANN, with the honoring of our community, the first thing that we really talk about is our power as whether it be a performer or a creator, the power that we have to create the community around us, the impacts that we have. So what are some examples where either you've seen someone impacting an environment or you yourself have been able to physically change the way that things are working?
I feel like, and not getting very like esoteric, but there's a way to curate and cultivate your energy. And we all know that it starts from the top. A lot of times, you know, when people in power really use their influence for good, we all benefit from it. But I try to ask myself, if I'm not in charge, how can I influence the situation?
Exactly. I think that's what we really want to drive in with HUMANN for dancers coming up, how they can really make a more positive environment if they're feeling powerless.
Yes, a lot of times I like to say it stops with me. And I'm not saying that you have to take on all that energy, but a lot of times, you know, we'll feel a lot of things in the world and then pass it on to somebody else. So if you can stop that right then and there, then that's a way of holding on to your power.
And how do you feel that you can exercise that? Like you're saying, you don't want to hold on to all of that kind of energy. How can you release it in a way that won't be detrimental to the environment?
Basically, releasing it is understanding the other person's point of view. And that doesn't necessarily mean agreeing all the time, but you have to have a little bit of logic and compassion to go, okay, I see their traumas, I see their insecurities, I see where they're coming from.
Right.
And I'm not going to try to placate that, but I'm going to try to soothe that and disperse it as much as possible, or use dance as my outlet. I mean, it's in the word, outlet, let out. So a lot of times that's how I like to let it go and not let it permeate the environment.
I'm sure for you, because you've worked as a professional dancer for so many years, and now you've moved on to doing creation, supervising choreography, all of those types of things, you understand all the many people that go into making a reality possible.
Yes.
And having to have an understanding of every single person's job in order to make that machine work as it should.
For sure. And you go into it knowing that you're one tiny cog in a great machine.
Mm-hmm.
But you also realize you are an important cog in that machine. And I think once you go in there knowing that, it changes everything. And then also being of service. I think a lot of times we go into things, you know, by accident, we're selfish. By human nature, we're selfish. But if you can go in there going like, if I can help one person today achieve one of their goals, then I've done my work.
Exactly. And it's finding that perfect balance of humility and power, realizing your power. I think many times dancers think that they just show up and they're told what to do. And to a certain degree, that is part of the position. But at the same time, like you're saying, what can I add to this environment? What is my role here? And figuring out how important that cog really is, because it is true.
Because at the end of the day, choreographers can't choreograph air. So they need bodies, they need spirits, they need energy in the room. And it's very transactional, because as you are of service, you are also taking on something great too. Like whether it's, you know, figuring out that your body can move differently, or being a muse. You know, sometimes it's great just to be yourself. And if you can ultimately be yourself in any of those situations and then be rewarded for it, then I think that's the best room to be in.
Today in this industry, it's a crazy time.
Mm-hmm.
We're facing a lot of things when it comes to equalities, and there's a lot of sexual assault that's being brought forth, and things with our community that we're not necessarily proud of.
Yes.
And our goal is always to be proud of the community that we're within. This is a heavy question, but how do you think with those types of things that we're facing within our industry that we are all a part of, how can we take a role to adjust that in a positive way?
I think one way is remembering and realizing we are all human.
Mm-hmm.
We will all have traumas. We will all have things we need to work to. So we need some kind of compassion in that way, but also accountability and education. And I think those two things people forget go hand in hand, because once you hold somebody accountable, then you want to educate them, or they need to educate themselves to then be better, to move throughout the community and throughout their world. And that also means don't put people up on an unattainable pedestal because you like their moves or you like the way their body moves. You have to remember that we are all on a journey trying to figure out what we're doing and what our purpose is. Holding people accountable. And that doesn't mean you can't do that with love. That's what our dance teachers did to us. When we weren't in first position correctly, they told you weren't. When your toe wasn't pointed, they told you weren't. When your shoulders were up, they told you weren't. So when you're doing something bad with the community, you shouldn't get mad that people are telling you that that's not what we should be doing.
What we put onto our social platforms is something that we need to have a lot of integrity toward. I know that mainstream culture is much different than it was when I was a young child. So things that people are seeing now as being cool is, in my eyes, beyond their years. So how do you think a young person should navigate when they see their mentor, somebody that they look up to as a choreographer, choreographing to a song that is mainstream, that's on the radio, but is talking about very derogatory things that are way beyond their sexual...
Their scope.
Their scope. Like how best navigate that to not just fall into what they think is the cool thing to do, the cool way to dress, the way to promote themselves so that they will be successful, but ultimately is not successful for them as a human.
The thing is, you have to be very judicious. I like to be one of those people that shows every facet of myself to the gram. Sometimes I can be sexy, sometimes I can be funny, sometimes I can be this. So you're not pigeonholed into one certain trope. I know a lot of times it is very popular for men and women and anybody who's gender nonconforming to be very vulnerable and nude on the gram. Now, I'm not saying I'm body shaming at all, but what I am saying is if you show different facets of your personality and of your human being and your experience, then nobody can quite pinpoint and just go like, oh, you're the sexy person.
Right.
oh, you're the one I'm going to hit on, because you would have shown a facet and then it would have been on them how they interpreted that one picture. So I think you just have to be very careful in what you're doing and what you're putting out there, because now once it's out, it's kind of out there in the ether for everybody to consume. So if that's what you want, I mean, I understand. I went to college. I did a lot of things. I would be mortified if some of those things that I did were online now.
Yeah.
But there's also a way to go, all right, this is how I like to move in this time. And then when I like to dance by myself, this is what I move like. So I feel like if you show people a good, accurate representation of all the facets of your personality, you won't be pigeonholed into the sexy trope.
Okay, I interrupt this programming to say that this video was 17 minutes long. In order for us to properly absorb everything that Dom is having to say, let's split this up into 2 parts. This will be our 4-course meal. Next week, I'll put in our main course and the dessert, and we can just take it all in. I don't know what direction I'm headed with this right now, but I hope you'll tune in next week when I put out the second part of this video. Like, subscribe, comment, all those things so that you can get engaged in this human movement. Follow Human Movement on Instagram, follow me, follow Dom, all those things, that you will enjoy everything that we have to say next week.